February 6th, 3 days before trial, Lydia called. Her voice carried the kind of excitement lawyers don't show unless something huge has happened. The title company flipped, she said. Rocky Mountain Title is cooperating. They admit they knew the adverse possession claim was weak but approved it anyway because Preston paid them $45,000 under the table. I sat up. They're giving us everything? Everything, she said. Emails, payment records, recordings. We have them. Then she added, but Cassandra knows we have them too. Her attorney called this morning begging for a settlement conference. What did you say? I told them we'd see them in court. The silence that followed felt heavy. 3 more days, Lydia said softly. Stay safe, stay quiet, and get ready to watch everything burn. That night I stared out Emma's window at the snowfall over Fort Collins. Somewhere out in that cold white silence, Cassandra and Preston were planning their last desperate move. I just hoped I'd see it coming. February 9th, a trial day. Put on the same suit I wore at the first hearing, a still tight in the shoulder sir, and drove to Boulder with Emma riding shotgun. She insisted on coming, said I needed family there. Tyler wanted to come too, but he couldn't risk losing more work after the Pi incident almost cost him his job. The courthouse parking lot was cozy. 2 news vans, Channel 9 and a Boulder local station. Cameras pointed at the steps. Patricia Hughes waved, but I kept my head down. Lydia's rule, no media before court. Inside, courtroom 3C was packed. All 96 Riverline Heights families had been notified, and at least 40 showed up. I spotted Sarah Chen 3 rows back, of the woman who'd cried on the phone about her forever home. She looked at me with an expression somewhere between hope and dread. Cassandra and Preston sat at the defense table with attorneys Brian Kemper, Diane Kelso, and 2 additional lawyers I didn't recognize. Reinforcements. Cassandra wore a cream suit worth at least $5,000. Her face was composed, but her hands trembled when she picked up her water glass. Judge Ramirez entered. Everyone stood. Before we begin, she said, eyes sweeping the packed gallery, this is a court of law, not a circus. Any disruptions will be removed. Understood? Murmurs of agreement. Miss Chen, opening statement. Lydia rose, and silence fell. She didn't need a microphone. Her voice carried like thunder. Your Honor, she began, this case is about theft. Not the kind done in dark alleys, but theft done in boardrooms with LLCs and forged documents. She walked the length of the courtroom. Mr. Flint inherited 47 acres from his grandfather, who paid cash in 1971 and maintained it for 48 years. When Mr. Flint couldn't visit for 3, due to work and family obligations, the defendants saw an opportunity. She held up Preston's blown-up email. This email proves they knew Mr. Flint was the lawful owner. They knew their adverse possession claim would fail. They built anyway because they counted on most people not being able to fight. She paused. Their mistake was picking a man who keeps every receipt. People in the gallery shifted, listening intently. The defendants committed fraud. They broke into Mr. Flint's home. They hired private investigators to harass his children. They filed false IRS reports. They turned his life into a nightmare because he dared to assert his rights. We're not asking for mercy. We're asking for justice. She sat down. I finally exhaled. Diane Kelso stood. She tried to argue that the title company made an honest mistake, that Preston's email was out of context, that adverse possession laws are complicated. But Judge Ramirez wasn't buying it. Her eyes had narrowed to slits. The trial ran for 7 hours. Lydia called witness after witness. The title company rep who admitted taking a bribe. A. Rick Polson, who testified about their Whitmore's pattern of false complaints. Deputy Torres, who described the harassment. And finally, Grandpa's ledgers of 50 years ownership in his own handwriting. Preston took the stand. Lydia dismantled him in 40 minuta, so every answer contradicting the last. Cassandra didn't dare testify. Fifth Amendment. At 4:47 p.m., Judge Ramirez said she would issue a ruling within 24 hours. In the hallway, homeowners surrounded me. Sarah Chen grabbed my arm. What happens to us? If you win, do we lose our homes? I looked at Lydia. She nodded. You keep your homes, I said loudly. Every single one of you. The Whitmores committed fraud or not you. Our settlement demands you own them free and clear. Silence. Then clapping, then an uproar of applause echoing down the corridor. Cassandra walked past, her attorneys flanking her. She looked at me with pure hatred before disappearing into the elevator. Outside, Patricia Hughes stopped me on the steps. Mr. Flint, how are you feeling? I looked at the snow-covered Rockies, felt Emma's hand on my arm. Like my grandfather's watching, I said. And he's proud. That night, the clip went viral, 3 million views in 12 hours. February 10th. At the ruling the next morning, Judge Ramirez issued her decision. We won everything. Her ruling was 18 pages, but the first paragraph said it all: the defendants engaged in a calculated, systematic scheme to defraud Dakota Flint through false adverse possession claims, bribery, and intentional misrepresentation. Such conduct is reprehensible and will not be tolerated. The order granted me full title to all 47 acres, including the 96 houses. I was awarded $4.2 million in damages for trespass, emotional distress, and loss of use. Whitmore was ordered to pay $73,000 in Lydia's legal fees. The case was referred to the U.S. Attorney for Criminal Prosecution. Rigaline Capital dissolved within a week. Their assets are the Range Rover, the Aspen vacation home, Cassandra's jewelry were auctioned off. Preston was indicted on federal fraud charges. Cassandra took a plea, 3 years probation, $500,000 restitution. Lifetime ban from Colorado real estate. Rocky Mountain title lost its license. Kemper resigned to avoid disbarment. But the victory created a new problem: what to do with 96 families living in houses I now legally owned. I could have evicted them, sold the homes myself, and made another $16 million. The law allowed it. Instead, I called a town hall meeting at Rigaline Heights on March 15th. All 96 families came here, packed into the unfinished clubhouse Cassandra had promised but never built. Sarah Chen stood in front holding her daughter's hand. The Rodriguezes, an elderly couple, sat near the back, looking terrified. These weren't villains. They were teachers, nurses, electricians, are people who had worked their whole lives to afford a home. I stood at the front of the room with Lydia beside me. I know you're scared, I began. You bought your homes in good faith. You did nothing wrong. I'm not here to punish you for someone else's crime. The room was silent, so quiet I could hear snow melting on the roof. Here's what I'm proposing, I continued. I'm transferring ownership of all 96 homes to the Rigaline Heights Community Trust, a non-profit we are establishing today. Each family will hold their home through the trust at the price you originally paid. No mortgages, no interest, just what you've already invested. A small gasp ran through the room. If you paid $485,000, you owe nothing more. If you still have payments left, you finish them to the trust at zero interest. Sarah Chen started crying. The trust will use these funds to maintain roads, cover property taxes, and establish a scholarship fund for kids in this community. My grandfather always believed land was about legacy, not profit. This is his legacy. The applause started slowly, then built like a thunderstorm. People hugged, cried, shouted thank yous across the room. An elderly man, Mr. Rodriguez, walked up and shook my hand so hard I thought my shoulder would dislocate. You're a good man, he said. Your grandfather raised you right. The scholarship fund launched in September. The William Flint Memorial Scholarship, $10,000 annually for a Colorado student studying engineering, forestry, or environmental science. Emma helped me set it up. She said Grandpa would have loved that his ledgers, full of timber sale records, were now funding someone's education. I kept 5 acres for myself at the north end of the property, the part with old-growth pines Grandpa had refused to log. Built a small cabin there, 2 bedrooms, nothing fancy. Sold my house in town and moved in last October. Now I wake every morning to the smell of pine and coffee. Watch deer graze outside my window. Tyler visits on weekends. Emma brings her boyfriend, a law student. Naturally, even Jennifer, my ex-wife, Stopped by once with her new husband. Said she was proud of me. Strange, but good. Patricia Hughes did a follow-up story in December. From property theft to community triumph, or how one man turned injustice into justice. It won her third Emmy. Last week, Sarah Chen's daughter drew me a picture, a crayon house with a stick figure labeled Mr. Dakota, holding a giant deed. It's on my fridge now, held up by a magnet shaped like Colorado. I think about Grandpa's note sometimes. Don't let the bastards take what's yours. He was right. But what's mine isn't just land or money. It's knowing that 96 families sleep safely because I didn't quit. It's a scholarship that will help a kid who reminds me of myself. Broke, stubborn, just trying to build something. It's justice. The real kind. The kind that heals. So here's my question for you. Have you ever dealt with an HOA nightmare, a property dispute? Someone who thought they could steamroll you because they had money and you didn't? Drop your story in the comments. Let's build a library of how regular people beat corrupt systems. And if this story mattered to you, if it reminded you that good people can still win, hit that subscribe button. I've got more stories like this. Stories about the little guy outsmarting the machine. Stories with receipt. Next week, the city council denied my business permit. So, I found the bylaw that made me untouchable. See you then. And remember, keep your receipts. All of them. Any idea who did this? He asked. Check Facebook, I said. Someone probably believed the post. We'll increase patrols in your area. That night, I slept with a baseball bat beside my bed. January 9th, 3 days before court. My daughter Emma called, crying. Someone sent her the Facebook post with the message, "Your dad's a creep and everyone knows it." I drove to her apartment in Fort Collins. Emma and her roommate looked at me like I was radioactive. Dada broken bar, just tell me the truth. Are you really stalking people? I sat down and explained everything of the land, Cassandra, the lawsuit, the houses. I showed her grandpa's deed, the tax receipts, Lydia's filings. Emma read through them, and her expression shifted from fear to anger. So she's lying about everything? Everything. Then we fight back, she said. Lydia says we wait for court. Emma shook her head. Dada broken bar, you've been playing defense your whole life. Divorce, work, everything. Just once, hit first. Her words stuck with me. January 11th, the night before court. I got one last message from an unknown number. Drop the lawsuit or everyone finds out what you really are. I forwarded it to Lydia. She replied immediately, perfect. Bring your phone to court tomorrow. We're going to bury them. The Boulder County Courthouse smelled like floor wax and recycled air. I met Lydia in the hallway outside courtroom 3C at 8:45 a.m. She wore a navy suit that probably cost more than my truck and carried a leather briefcase that looked like it could stop bullets. You ready? She asked. I wasn't. My hands were sweating. I'd worn my only suit, the one from my daughter's graduation 3 years ago, and it suddenly felt too tight in the shoulders. Do we have enough? I whispered. We have a nuclear bomb, she said. Trust me. She checked her watch. Cassandra's attorney filed a motion to dismiss yesterday at 4:57 p.m. Classic delay tactic. Judge Ramirez hates that. We walked into the courtroom. Cassandra sat at the defendant's table with her attorney, Brian Keir, and her husband, Preston Whitmore, a man I'd only seen in property records. Preston was around 60, grey hair slicked back, wearing a suit that practically screamed, "I've settled 3 fraud lawsuits and never learned anything from them," he whispered to Keir, both of them relaxed and confident. Cassandra looked right at me and smiled. Not nervous, not ashamed. She smiled like she'd already won. Judge Angela Ramirez entered her, a woman in her 50s with reading glasses and the expression of someone allergic to nonsense. We all stood. Be seated. She read the case number, Flint vs. Whitmore Development LLC and associated parties. Then she fixed her eyes on Keir. Counselor, I received your motion to dismiss at 5 p.m. yesterday. Would you like to explain why you believe that's appropriate? Ear stood. Your Honor, the plaintiff's claim is defective on its face. Whitmore Development holds clear title via adverse possession. Mr. Flint abandoned the property for over 3 years. Did he pay property taxes? Judge Ramirez asked, cutting him off. Ear hesitated. Well, a broken bar, yes. Then adverse possession fails under Colorado Statute 38A41A 101. What else do you have? I watched his confidence crack like cheap concrete. Your Honor, the title company conducted a thorough search. Miss Chen? The judge said, turning to Lydia. Lydia stood, and I swear the temperature dropped 5 degrees. Your Honor, we're not here to debate adverse possession. That claim is frivolous. We're here because the defendants knowingly committed fraud. She reached into her briefcase. Exhibit an internal email from Preston Whitmore to Cassandra Whitmore dated February 18, 2022. She handed copies to the judge and Ear. I leaned over as she slid one to me. Ear's face went white. Judge Ramirez read the document, her eyebrows lifting. Counselor Ear, a broken bar. Did you know about this email? Ear, Your Honor, I've never seen that document. Ear stammered. It was submitted in discovery last week, Lydia said smoothly. Perhaps it got lost in your office. I read the email, my heart hammering. Preston wrote it himself. They knew. They knew the land wasn't abandoned. They knew I'd been paying taxes. They knew their claim wouldn't hold. And they planned to move fast, create chaos, bury me in legal fees, and then hide behind bankruptcy if things went bad. It even referenced another project, the Aspen scam from 2019. They'd done this before. Your Honor, Lydia continued, this proves intentional fraud. They knew Mr. Flint owned the property. They knew their claim was baseless. They pushed ahead anyway because they calculated, correctly, that most people cannot afford to fight a multi-million-dollar legal battle. Judge Ramirez looked at Cassandra and Preston. Is this email authentic? Preston started to stand, but Ear yanked his sleeve. That sounds like a yes. The judge said. Motion to dismiss is denied. This case will proceed to trial on an expedited schedule. In the meantime, I'm issuing a temporary restraining order. Whitmore Development will cease all sales, marketing, and property transfers related to Rigaline Heights. She turned to Cassandra. And Mrs. Whitmore, if I see one more Facebook post, one more anonymous complaint, or one more threat directed at Mr. Flint, I will hold you in contempt. Clear? Cassandra's face went from smug to ghost white. Yes, Your Honor, she whispered. Outside the courthouse, Lydia said, that email? A whistleblower gave it to me. One of Preston's old business partners he screwed in the Aspen deal. Been waiting 5 years to get revenge. How'd you find him? I asked. She smiled. I'm very good at my job. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. That night, I bought a bottle of whiskey I couldn't afford and sat on my back porch watching the snow fall. My phone buzzed non-stop. Emma, my son Tyler, Marcus from Wyoming. Even my ex-wife sent a careful, heard you had a good day in court. But the message that mattered came from Lydia at 9:47 p.m. My office. Tomorrow, 10 a.m. Bring coffee. We're building the kill shot. I showed up at 9:30 with 2 coffees and a box of donuts that felt appropriate for planning someone's legal destruction. Inside her conference room was a whiteboard covering an entire wall already filled with names, dates, arrows, and notes like a conspiracy map. You brought donuts, she said, grabbing one. I like you more now. What's all this? I asked. This, she said, tapping the board, is how we turn your property dispute into a criminal case. She circled Preston's name. The email was the grenade. Now we bring the artillery. She and her paralegal had spent the previous evening tracing every Whitmore project from the last 10 years, 7 total, all in small Colorado mountain towns, all with the same pattern. Target vulnerable landowners, file aggressive claims, build fast, sell faster, let insurance companies clean up the disaster. They're not developers, Lydia said. They're land pirates with LLCs. But this time was different. I had documentation going back to 1971, grandpa's ledgers, tax receipts, maps, photos, everything. And my own tax receipts since 2019, enough proof to bury them. Here's the plan, she said, writing on her legal pad. Phase 1, discovery. We depose every near Preston, Cassandra, their lender, contractors, the title company. Someone always cracks. Usually the title company. They're terrified of losing their license. Depositions. I remembered my divorce lawyer explaining the hours of questions under oath until someone lies or slips. Phase 2, she continued. We file an amended complaint adding RICO charges. I blinked. RICO? As in Abroken Bar, the Mafia, Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act. If we prove a pattern of fraud, it goes federal. And federal means treble damages. I stared at it. This wasn't just a lawsuit anymore. It was war. That's what they were staring at if they lost. My mouth went dry. Could they even pay that number? Which is why they'd settle. But here's the beautiful part. Preston and Cassandra had personally guaranteed the construction loans. If Whitmore Development went bankrupt, the lenders would come after their personal assets, houses, cars, bank accounts, everything. I could tell Lydia was enjoying herself. Her eyes lit up talking about seizing assets. What do I need to do? I asked. 3 things, she said. First, map every visit you made to the property. Dates, times, observations, who you spoke to. Deputy Torres, that code enforcement guy Rick Polson, anyone who witnessed harassment. I pulled out my phone. I'd been logging everything since September. She nodded. Smart. Second, we need allies. Anyone harmed by the Whitmore neighbors, contractors, former employees. I want a list. I thought about Rick Polson's comment. I'd inspected 6 Whitmore projects. Everyone had complaints against neighboring landowners. I knew where to start. Third, Lydia leaned forward. This goes public, not Facebook. That's Cassandra's playground. I'm talking local news. She mentioned a contact at Channel 9 Denver, Patricia Hughes, an investigative reporter with 2 Emmys for exposing slumlords and corrupt county commissioners. You want me on TV? I asked. I want us on TV. You, me, and every family who bought a Rigaline Heights home, thinking they were getting the American dream. She looked me dead in the eyes. Those 96 families aren't the enemy. They're victims, just like you. When this is over, they'll own their homes free and clear. Cassandra will own nothing but legal bills. She handed me a folder, the deposition schedule. Preston first, next Thursday. Cassandra the week after. You need to be there, Lydia said. They need to see your face when they're forced to tell the truth. I opened the folder. Dates, locations, questions. It read like a murder weapon. When this is over, I asked, how much will I owe you? Less than you think, she smiled. When we win, the court awards attorney's fees. The Whitmores pay all $60,000. She grinned. That's the beauty of fraud cases. The guilty party pays everyone's bills. I left her office at noon with a plan, a purpose, and for the first time since August, a sense that justice wasn't a word people said when they meant revenge. It was something you built carefully, methodically, with receipts. Preston Whitmore's deposition was set for January 18, 9 a.m., in a glass-walled conference room on the 14th floor of a Denver office building. Outside, the Rockies gleamed, snow-capped and indifferent to the carnage about to unfold inside. Preston arrived in a charcoal suit, accompanied by Diane Kelso, his attorney, whose sharp, predatory look screamed $800 an hour. He didn't glance at me once. The court reporter, a tiny woman with a stenograph that clicked like nervous insects, swore him in. Lydia began gently. Name, address, occupation. He responded in a boardroom monotone, practiced, rehearsed. Mr. Whitmore, do you recognize this email? Lydia slid the February 18th smoking gun across the table. Preston glanced. I do. Did you write it? Yes. So you knew in February 2022 that Dakota Flint was the legal owner of the Old Mill Road property. Diane Kelso leaned forward. Don't answer that. Lydia smiled. Your Honor granted a discovery order. He has to answer. Preston shifted uncomfortably. I knew someone named Flint was listed in county records, but our title company Rocky Mountain Title Grouper advised us the property was effectively abandoned. Lydia made a note. I watched Preston's jaw tighten. He knew what was coming. She had the title company next on her deposition list. They would either confirm his lie or throw him under the bus to save their license. She asked 50 more questions, tightening the noose. By 11 a.m., Preston was sweating through his shirt. By noon, he had contradicted himself 4 times. When Lydia finally said, "No further questions," he practically sprinted out of the room. Diane Kelso stayed behind. She regarded Lydia with something like professional respect. Your client should settle, she said quietly. Your client should have thought of that before committing fraud. Name a number. Lydia closed her notebook. 10 million, Diane said. Plus, he resigns from every corporate board, dissolves Rigaline Capital, and personally finances the transfer of all 96 homes to their current residents at cost. Oh, and a written apology. Diane laughed, short and bitter. He'll never agree to that. Then we see him at trial, Lydia said. And I'll bring Channel 9. 2 days later, the escalation I dreaded finally arrived. Tyler, my son, called at 6 p.m., his voice shaking. Dad, someone came to the restaurant. My blood ran cold. What happened? This guy in a suit said he was a private investigator looking into you. Asked my manager if I was reliable, if you'd ever been violent, incidents he should know about. Then he pulled me aside. My manager saying I could lose my job. I closed my eyes. Name? Thomas Brennan, Apex Investigations. Don't talk to him again. If he comes back, tell him to contact my attorney. I'll handle it. I called Lydia. She answered with ice in her voice. They hired a PI. Textbook intimidation. He went to your son's workplace. That's witness tampering, a felony. Forward me his business card photo. I'm filing an emergency motion tomorrow morning. But the hits kept coming. January 23rd. IRS notice of audit. Past 3 years. Citing irregularities reported by a third party. None existed. I forwarded it to Lydia. They're burning bridges now. Rich people panic. They throw money at problems until the problems go away. It's working, but we can fight it. Apex Investigations. False IRS complaint to another felony if we prove it. They're making mistakes. Desperate people always do. January 25th. Someone leaked all 96 Rigaline Heights sales contracts to a Boulder real estate blogger. $450,000 $530,000 homes on disputed land. Headline: Luxury developer sold homes on stolen property. Buyers may lose everything. Emails flooded in from panicked homeowners. Sarah Chen called, crying. Mr. Flint, I have 2 kids. We moved here from California. This is our forever home. Please see broken bar. We're terrified. I said, I'm not trying to take your home. I'm stopping the people who stole from both of us. What if you win? She asked, do we get evicted? Number. You'll own your home. The developer will pay for it. That night, Lydia called with news. Channel 9 wanted to interview me. Patricia Hughes, the investigative reporter. Segment on predatory developers, airing February 2nd. 1 week before trial. What do I say? I asked. The truth, she said. You're fighting for your grandfather's legacy. You're not the enemy. The Whitmores are, and every Rigaline Heights family deserves to keep their home. I thought of Sarah Chen. Set it up. January 30th, Channel 9 arrived at my house. Patricia Hughes, mid-40s, grey-streaked hair in a practical ponytail, jeans and blazer. Cameraman Stephen. Enough lighting equipment to film a Marvel movie. Mr. Flint, she said, I've covered real estate fraud for 12 years. Your case is the most brazen I've ever seen. We sat in my living room, which I'd frantically cleaned, shoving dirty laundry into closets like a teenager before prom. The interview lasted 90 minutes. I told her everything. Grandpa's ledgers, Cassandra's contempt, the Facebook smear campaign, Preston's email, families caught in the middle. Off the record, she contacted Cassandra Whitmore for comment. She threatened to sue for defamation if we aired it. Will you run it? I asked. Patricia smiled. Absolutely. Threats mean I'm onto something. February 2nd, 6 p.m. I watched the broadcast alone. Aerial shots of Ridgeline Heights. My interview. Grandpa's deed. Tax receipts. Preston's email. County permits showing $50,000 donations to the commissioner's re-election. I said, I'm not trying to hurt the families who bought these homes. They're victims too. But if we let people like the Whitmores get away with this, what's the point of property rights? What's the point of laws? Phone exploded. Emma called. Proud tears. Marcus texted, you just became a folk hero. My boss emailed, come back Monday. We're proud of you. Message that mattered. 7:15 p.m. Blocked number. You just made the biggest mistake of your life. I forwarded it to Lydia. Don't go anywhere alone. Vary your routes. Keep doors locked. They're cornered or they'll do stupid things. I'm serious. She was right. February 4th, 2 days after the broadcast, I returned from grocery shopping to find my front door jarred. Locked. My heart hammered. I called 911. Deputy Torres arrived first. This time with backup. They cleared the house room by room. Nothing was missing, nothing damaged, but someone had definitely been inside. On my kitchen table sat a single sheet of paper, 5 words printed in thick block letters, drop it or lose everything. Torres slipped the note into an evidence bag. We'll try prints, he said, but if they were smart, they wore gloves. This is the Whitmores, I said. They broke into my house. Can you prove that? Number. I called an apostrophe T. But 2 hours later, my neighbor Carol knocked on the door. She was 70, a retired librarian who'd lived on my street for 4 decades and noticed everything. Dakota, she said, I saw a black Audi SUV parked across the street yesterday around noon. A man in a suit got out, walked up your driveway, and came back 10 minutes later. I thought he was a salesman. Did you see his face? No. But I got the plate number. Something felt off, so I wrote it down. She handed me a sticky note, Colorado plate KLM 4892. I gave it to Torres. He ran it. The SUV was registered to Apex Investigations, Thomas Brennan's firm. That's the pie who harassed my son, I said. Torres frowned. Breaking and entering is a felony, but proving he went inside instead of just walking to the door? Hard without video. So they just get away with it. I'll file a report. A detective will follow up. But, Mr. Flint, a broken bar, you should consider staying somewhere else until this is over. That night I slept at Emma's apartment in Fort Collins on her couch, phone charging beside me, a baseball bat leaned against the wall. I hadn't been back to my grandfather's land in Colorado for nearly 3 years. 47 acres of quiet forest, fully paid off, passed down to me and my piece of family history. But when I finally drove out there, expecting pine trees and open space, I didn't find a forest. I found a neighborhood. Paved streets, streetlights, sidewalks, families unloading moving trucks, row after row of brand new houses. So 123 of them are built right on my land. And it wasn't a mistake, they built every single one on purpose. The HOA president, a woman wearing a Rolex like it was a sheriff's badge, marched up to me and called me a deadbeat squatter. Said I had no claim. Said their lawyer confirmed the land was abandoned, and through adverse possession, it now belonged to them. She bragged that she'd already collected $16 million in pre-sale money. But I didn't argue. I didn't fight. I did absolutely nothing. I let them keep building a broken bar, finishing driveways, planting lawns, installing pools. All the while holding on to one thing they didn't know I had. My grandfather's original 1971 deed. My grandfather kept every receipt in leather ledgers that smelled of pipe tobacco and WD-40. When he passed in 2019, he left me the property, with one note tucked inside the deed. Don't let the bastards take what's yours. Life got busy. Divorce. 2 kids in college. 70-hour work weeks. I didn't visit the land for 3 years. But I never stopped paying property tax. ISA $6,400 every April, always on time, always online. I had every email receipt. August 2022, I finally made the drive. I was going to scatter Grandpa's ashes. Turned off Highway 36 onto the old fire road, and my stomach sank. The pine forest was gone. In its place, 96 Mediterranean-style stucco houses with fake balconies, all painted the beige the home mandated. A carved stone sign read, Rigaline Heights, a Whitmore luxury community. I checked my GPS 4 times. Same coordinates. This was my land. At the gatehouse, a security guard stopped me. Residents only. I own this property, I said, holding up a photo of the deed on my phone. He smirked. Sure, buddy. And I'm Elon Musk. Turn around. Before I could argue, a white Range Rover pulled up. Out stepped Cassandra Whitmore, mid-50s. Botoxed into a permanent look of mild surprise, dressed in white linen that probably cost more than my mortgage. She had the unmistakable energy of someone who had never been told no. Problem, Ray? She asked the guard, ignoring me. Then she finally looked at me. Work boots, Carhartt jacket, calloused hands. Cassandra looked me up and down, and I could see the judgment settle in her eyes. She'd already filed me away as poor. How charming, she said. Sweetie, if you're looking for construction work, most crews already filled their labor positions. But I can take your number. I'm not looking for work, I said. I'm the legal owner. My grandfather, William Flint. She pulled out her phone and scrolled with perfectly manicured nails. Our title company ran a forensic search, she said. This land was abandoned for over 3 years, which under Colorado Adverse Possession Statute 38A 41A 101A means nothing if property taxes were paid. I cut in. Her smile tightened into something sharp. That's adorable. You know just enough to be dangerous. She held out a business card between 2 fingers as if it were contaminated. Brian Keir, our attorney. He'll explain why your claim ISA broken bar. What's the legal term? Frivolous. I took the card. How many houses are sold? I asked. All 96. Pre-construction sales totaled $16 million. Families are moving in by Thanksgiving. She said it like a threat. This is a legitimate development, properly permitted through Boulder County. And if you keep trespassing, I'll call Sheriff Mitchell personally. We're major contributors to his department's equipment fund. Then she did something that froze my blood. She lifted her phone and snapped a photo of my license plate. Just in case you decide to come back and vandalize anything, she said. We have excellent security footage. She leaned closer. And trust me, honey, a broken bar people like you don't win against people like us. The diesel smell from a nearby excavator mixed with fresh concrete. A nail gun popped in the distance, ear sharp, rhythmic, like a countdown. I drove home with my hands shaking. That night, I spread all of Grandpa's documents across my kitchen table. The 1971 deed, 47 years of tax receipts, survey maps. Cassandra had threatened me, photographed my truck, and implied I was a criminal. And she'd also handed me everything I needed to bury her. Monday morning, I called the attorney, Brian Keir. I called Cassandra's attorney. His receptionist had that professionally pleasant voice, the same tone dentists use right before telling you that you need a root canal. Mr. Keir is in depositions all week. Can I take a message? She asked. Dakota Flint, regarding the Rigaline Heights property. I said. There was a pause. Oh, yes. Mr. Keir anticipated your call. He's authorized me to offer a nuisance settlement of $15,000 if you sign a quitclaim deed by Friday. $15,000, a broken bar for $4 million in land. I'd heard about quitclaim deeds during my divorce. That's how my ex got the timeshare in Branson neither of us wanted. Basically, signing one means you give up all rights to something, without anyone promising those rights even exist. It's the legal equivalent of saying, I give up. Don't even care if I'm right. My divorce lawyer had always said, never sign one unless you're absolutely sure you're walking away from nothing. Tell Mr. Gear I'll see him in court, I said, and hung up before she could respond. I needed a real lawyer, not the guy who handled my divorce for $2,200. I needed someone who made other lawyers check their malpractice insurance. My buddy Marcus, a civil engineer in Cheyenne, gave me a name, Lydia Chen. She had beaten a railroad company in a Wyoming adverse possession case so badly, they offered her a job just to make her stop. Her consultation fee, $500. I paid it with a credit card and prayed. Lydia's office smelled like old leather and lemon furniture polish, the kind of smell that screams money. She was about 60, grey hair in a tight bun, reading glasses on a beaded chain. She listened to my entire story without interrupting, making careful notes and hand gestures that told me she was already 3 steps ahead. Her handwriting was so perfect it looked like a font. When I finished, she set down her pen. Show me your tax receipts, she said. I pulled out a folder thick enough to hurt someone. Email confirmations, bank statements, county records, so every April payment since 2019, A plus copies going back to Grandpa's very first payment in 1971. She flipped through them, and I saw her mouth twitch into something that might have been a smiley broken by if she had allowed herself to show it. Colorado adverse possession, she explained, requires 18 years of open, continuous, hostile possession, and the squatter has to pay property taxes the entire time. If you've been paying, their claim is stillborn, so I could get an injunction. Stop construction. I began. She closed the folder. But here's what I'd do instead. And you're going to think I've lost my mind. Let them finish building. I stared at her. What if we stop construction now? Cassandra's company declares bankruptcy. Your land gets tied up in a 3-year litigation circus, with 96 families who bought homes in good faith suing everyone, including you, banks, title companies, insurance companies. It becomes legal whack-a-mole. She leaned forward. But if you let them finish, then file for a declaratory judgment. You own 96 completed houses. Cassandra's company has committed textbook fraud, selling property they don't own. They'll be desperate to settle, because the alternative is prison. My hands were shaking. What if they somehow win? I asked. They won't. And even in some parallel universe where they did, you've lost nothing. Your land is already occupied. The difference is whether you fight one corrupt developer or 96 traumatized families. Cold, strategic, brutal. And it made perfect sense. How much? I asked. $40,000 in legal fees. Maybe $50,000. But when we wiener and we will the court awards damages for trespass, unjust enrichment, fraud, and attorney fees. You'll own the houses outright, sell them, rent them, or negotiate a settlement worth millions. I had $12,000 in savings. My Silverado needed a transmission. My daughter's tuition payment was due in January. I'll figure it out, I heard myself say. One last thing, she added, a broken bar. January 4th, 8 days before my court date, I got a text from my daughter Emma at 11 p.m. Dada, broken bar, did you get arrested? Someone posted on Facebook saying you're harassing families in a neighborhood. It has 300 shares. My stomach dropped. I opened Facebook a first time since my divorce year and found the post pinned at the top of the Boulder County Community Watch group, written by Cassandra herself. Alert: local man Dakota Flint has been stalking our family-friendly Wriggleline Heights community, taking photos of children, making residents feel unsafe. He claims to own our neighborhood despite clear legal title. Boulder County Sheriff is aware. Report any sightings. Protect your families. The comments were a nightmare. People calling me a predator. Someone said I belonged on a registry. Someone even posted a picture of my Silverado, a license plate visibly with the caption, "This is his truck. Stay safe." My hands shook so badly I could barely type. I called Lydia. She answered on the first ring. I saw it. Don't respond. Don't comment. Don't defend yourself. She's calling me a pedophile. Lydia. My daughter's crying. My son thinks I'm going to jail. I know, and it's defamation. We're adding it to the lawsuit. But if you engage, you look guilty. Let me handle it. Her voice softened. Dakota broken bar. This is what desperate people do. She knows we filed. She knows her attorney surrendered evidence. This is a Hail Mary to discredit you before trial. It's working, I said. I've gotten 12 messages from people I went to high school with. Good. Screenshot everything. Every share. Every comment. It's all evidence of malice. I spent the next 3 hours documenting the spread. By midnight, it had 847 shares. I didn't sleep. The next morning, my boss called me into his office. Martin is a good guy. Navy, ran the structural engineering firm where I'd worked for 14 years. He closed the door. Never a good sign. Dakota, a potential client, Googled us and found a broken bar. This situation with your name attached. The Facebook post, I said. He nodded. They're a school district. Nervous about optics. They asked if you'd be on the project. And you told them no. I finished for him. I told them you're on personal leave pending resolution of a legal matter. Effective today. He slid an envelope across the desk. 2 weeks paid leave. If this gets resolved, you're back immediately. If not, a broken bar. He didn't finish. He didn't have to. Walking to my truck, I passed Jenny from accounting. She'd always been friendly. I brought cookies at Christmas. Asked about my kids. This time she crossed the parking lot to avoid me. That's when I understood. Cassandra wasn't just attacking my claim, she was attacking my life, my reputation, my job, my place in the community. I sat in my truck and called Lydia again. They're destroying me, I said. I just got put on leave. People won't even look at me. I'm filing an emergency motion for a temporary restraining order against Cassandra. Defamation, emotional distress, interference with business relations. Hearing is Monday. She paused. But Dakota, understand this, before it gets better, it gets worse. If you want to walk away, I can negotiate a settlement. Maybe $500,000. You can move. Start over. I thought of Grandpa's note, don't let the bastards take what's yours. No, I said. We finish this. Then buckle up, she said. They're going to hit harder. She was right. January 7th, someone spray-painted pervert across my garage door. I filed a police report. The responding officer Patterson took photos like he was filling out DMV paperwork.